Hi guys, welcome to this YouTube channel. Welcome to Audrey's Designs. So on this video, we are going to be sewing a simple skirt. It's just a plain black skirt. So that straight skirt that will go with basically any top that you wear with it is what we are going to be doing in this video. So watch till the end to learn how to design this skirt. And I'll see you in the video. This is the fabric that we are going to be using for this skirt. It's a simple straight black skirt. So this is probably like the first thing you need to learn when learning how to stitch clothes. It's just a straight skirt, and just from learning this you can be able to do other attachments to design it. And we are going straight into the skirting of this skirts. We don't need much, we just need the length, the waist and the hips. So I'll go now straight to drawing it and cutting it out. For the length, I have a length of 22 inches. I'm going to be adding 1.5 inch for my allowance because I know that I need half an inch at the waist and 1 inch at the bottom. So I'll place on 23.5 and I go ahead to mark. From my waistline to my hip line, it's going to be 9 inches. So I'll go on to mark that as well. Then I use my ruler to bring out the lines clearly. At the waist, I have a measurement of 33. I divide by 4 and it's going to give me 7.75. So I'll go on to mark my 7.75 and I'll put 1.5 inch for my sewing allowance. At the hips, I have a hips of 43. When I divide it, it's going to give me 10.75. I'll mark and then I'll go on to mark my 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. Now moving to the bottom of my skirt, since I want the skirt to fit, first of all I measure what I have here, which has given me 12.5 inches. Then I subtract 1.5 from this measurement, and I subtract 1.5, that's going to be 11 inches. So I'll go now on down here and place 11 inches and then I mark. After marking that out, the next thing I'll do is to go ahead and connect the lines. After connecting my lines, I'll say this is what I have as the front part of my skirt. So I'll just go on now to cut it out. As you can see clearly, this is the bad side of the fabric and this is the good side, which is black. I use this fabric specifically so that you can see clearly the black part and the brown. The brown is the bad side, while the black is going to be the good side. So we're drawing on the bad side of the fabric. Now I've gone ahead to fold my fabric so that I can bring out the back part. For the back part of this skirt, the first thing I'll do is to mark out my zipper allowance, which is going to be 1.5 inch throughout. So I come to the edge of my material here and I mark out 1.5 inch throughout. So after marking, I've gone ahead to take the front part, which I already cut earlier, and I've placed it here. I'll just cut it the same as it is lying right now, like this. Now I'll go on to separate the back part of my skirt so that I'll have two different fabrics. The next thing I'll do now is to cut a tiny band which I'm going to place at the waist of the skirt. Since the waist of my skirt is on 33, I'm going to be placing this band on 35 so that I can have the allowance where I'm going to place my button. You'll see that as we sew. So I'll just place the band, its length on 35 inches, and then I'll mark. While for the width of the band, I'm going to be placing it on 2 inches. So I'll go now on to cut it as it is placed. Now this is everything that I need to sew this skirt. I need just the front part, the back part, and the waistband. So I'll be heading now straight on to sewing. To begin with my stitching, the first thing I'll do is to hold my dart. For the dart in front, what I do is that I measure 3 inches from this starting point. My fabric is still folded as it was initially. I'll measure 3 inches from here, and then I'll mark. I draw from here down 6 inches, and I also mark. Then I hold this line, I place it down exactly on the line, and then I'll go ahead to draw my V shape which my dart normally carries. So this is it. This is how I'm going to be sewing it. And on the other side, I'll also proceed to do the same thing. So I'll just fold my fabric on the reverse direction. When I fold it, then I make sure that I hit it so that the chalk can print on the other side which I had not drawn. And when I open it up, I see that I already have the same line which I had there. So I'll just go on to print out the line, and I do my V. I head onto my machine and I sew. This is the straight line which I'll fold like this. Then I'll go on and sew following this V line. So that's what I'm going to be doing for both sides of this skirt. To do the dart on the back part of this skirt, I come to the waist as well. And after my line, my zipper allowance line, I'll place 3 inches also. I go down and I place 6 inches as well. And then I connect to give me a straight line. After having my straight line, I take my fabric and I fold the same as I did on the front part, and I draw my V line. And when I'm done doing that, I'll place the other side of the fabric on it the same as I did in front, so that it may print out on the other side. After I've printed it out, I'll go on now to draw this line. So this is what I have for the back part. I'll go on ahead to sew it the same as I sewed that on the front part, and that will be it for my dart. So this is what the dart looks like on the front part, and this is what it looks like behind. I've just gone on to sew. For the back part, this is what it looks like on the front and this on the back, and this is what it looks in front. The next thing I'll do right now is to insert my zipper. To insert the zipper of this skirt, the first thing I'll do, I place both sides of the back part together. So after placing them together, I already have my 1.5 inch line, so I do not need to draw any other one. But if your line is wiped out, you can redraw it. Then I'll mark 7 inches from the waist going down. That's my 7-inch mark. So I'll go on now to sew up to this point before I insert my zipper. I'll just show you the process of inserting a zipper, so that if you're sewing a skirt as well, you insert the zipper the same. So after sewing right up to the 7-inch mark, this is what I have. So I'll go on now to insert my zipper. To insert the zipper is just simply placing and sewing. So I make sure that I send in all my allowance inside, then I'll place my zipper and I'll just go on to sew, making sure that I do not sew on the zipper part. I just need to sew on the body. So I'll go on now to sew as you watch the process. This is my zipper already done. You can see it can open and close. So that's what I have for my zipper. Now I'll go on to do the slits, which is supposed to be at the bottom of the skirt, because if there's no slit there, it will be difficult to walk in it. So I'll just put a slit at the bottom. The length of my slit is going to be 7 inches. So I'll mark 8 inches considering my sewing allowance at the bottom. Then I'll go on to fold it towards one direction, any direction that I wish that my slit should move towards. And then I'll just go on to sew a line. Now after sewing the line, I'll go on to undo the stitch which I have from the bottom to this point where the line starts. And this is it. This is what I have as my slit. You can see it's a closed slit. This is the good side of the slit. This is basically how it's going to look like. Now I'll be heading on to the next part of my skirt. The next thing I'll do is to go on and join the sides of this skirt. So I come to the waist first of all, and my measurement was a waist of 33 inches. When I measure what I have here, this is on 18 inches. That means I'm going to be removing 3/4 of an inch on both sides. So I'll bring out 3/4 of an inch here and 3/4 here. Now I come down to my hips. I have a hip of 43 inches. When I measure what I have here, this is 25 inches. So I'm going to be removing 2 inches on both sides. Keep in mind that when you're doing your measurements here, you're dividing by 2. So when I take my measurement here, this is 25 inches, but my hips is 43. And when I divide 43 by 2, it's going to give me 21.5. So that is why you see me bringing out 2 inches on both sides. Now the same thing that I use here is what I'll use at the bottom. So if I brought out 2 inches here, I'll come down to the bottom and I'll also mark out 2 inches. And then I'll go on to connect the line. So this is the line I have, and it's the same which I'm going to draw on this other side. I'll head on to my machine now and sew out this line. I've stitched the sides already. This is what I have. You can see the lines going down. So the next thing I want to do with this skirt is to insert the band at the waist, the waistband. So what I'll do is to iron my band the way it's going to be, and I'll show you the process as I'm doing it. So this is my band which I had cut earlier, and this is the stiff which I put in the band to strengthen it. So my band is on 2 inches. This stiff is on 1.5 inches as I've cut it out. There are 2 because it wasn't long enough. It sticks to the cloth, so you just look for the side which has the gum and you place it on the band from this point, and you start ironing it down so that it can stick, and making sure that you keep some allowance here. And that's what I'm doing right now. After I've ironed it out, as you can see, it's already stuck to the dress. I'll go now on to this fabric that was left at the side here. I'll fold it on it the way you see me doing. Then finally I'll go on to turn it and iron it at this point where it was folded. So finally I'm done with the ironing. This is what it looks like. So I'll go now on to insert it to my skirt. I'll just show you the process of how I'm inserting the waistband. Firstly, I'll go on to stitch this side. So I turn it back to the back side and I'll stitch the side. This I'll also do same for the other side. So after stitching, I pick my skirt, and on the point where I have the zipper, as you can see clearly, this is the back side. So I'm starting on the back side. At the point where I have the zipper, I bring down my zipper a bit so that I don't sew it joined, and then I place the tip of my band with the tip of my zipper, as you can see, and I'll go on to sew throughout. So I'm placing the side which doesn't have the stiff on it. This is it, while this is the other side, and I'm placing it on the bad side of the skirt, not the good side. So after stitching all round, what I'll do next is just to turn it now and stitch it towards the good side. So I'll just do a top stitch like this. You can see this side that it's slightly extended because it has to be longer than the skirt so that I can place my button here. That's why we cut the band a little longer than the skirt. So I'll just go on now, adjust it and place, then sew a top stitch throughout. So as you can see, I'm done inserting my waistband, and the final thing I have to do on my skirt now is to bend the bottom of the skirt. Like I said, I kept 1 inch for my sewing allowance at the bottom, so I'll just go on to bend that 1 inch inward. So after I've bent the under, this is what it looks like, and I can say I'm almost done with my skirt. In fact, I'm done sewing, but I need to insert a button into it. So I'll come to the waist where I have to place the button, and I mark the spot where the button will be. Here on the part that passes on top, it's the space that is going to contain the button, so I'm going to be sewing it around to make that space, while below I'm going to be placing my button. So this is the exact spot where I'll put my button so that it passes through. I'll go ahead to stitch this side and make it firmer so it doesn't destroy the skirt when I cut it to place in the button. So as you can see, this is what I've gone ahead to stitch. This is how it looks like. It's just a space that the button can pass through. Now on the other side, I'll put the button at the spot where it's supposed to be. This is my button that I've put in, as you can see. I don't know if you're seeing clearly, and this is the space which I created. I've just gone on to open it with my blade, so it's as easy as that. So right now I can actually button my skirt, and I can zip it up. So this is my final skirt, how it looks like. I'll just go now on to iron the skirt so that we can see the finished product. So that's the skirt completely done after I've ironed it out. This is what it looks like.
If you are still here at this moment, then do not forget to subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up. Click on the notification button as well so that you get notified when I upload the next video. And thank you for watching. Thank you, and thank you.